So I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I love the play that goes wrong, and I'm super excited to have you on. And so to get started, can you please introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Yeah, I'm Trevor Braun and I play Dennis in the play that goes wrong.
Great. And so before we talk a little bit more about the play that goes wrong, I want to talk about your acting career in itself. And so you studied at Pace University. You got your BFA in acting for film, television, voiceover, and commercial. And so how did those studies help you improve as an artist?
Yeah, so I learned a lot at school. I learned different sort of acting techniques. I made a lot of friends there who were able to help create kind of a community uh, of actors and artists who have helped uplift me and teach me different things. So it's helped me in many different ways throughout my career. And I just think education is really important for everyone, not only just actors.
Yeah, for sure. And so, along with being an actor on stage, you have a plethora of credits in commercial and television and film, including Dash and Lily, Marvelous Miss Maisel, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and more. And so, what are some of your favorite parts of being an on-screen actor?
Yeah, I mean, doing work on screen is very different than doing work in theater. But what's cool about it is you really get to try out a bunch of different things right there in the moment. Because at the end of the day, once they've captured the sort of footage, then they can edit it however they want. So you have a little more freedom to kind of find the nuance right there in the moment. You can do that in theater as well, but usually that's over an extended period of time that you find those sort of different ways in and stuff. So you really just get to be spontaneous on a film in a way that's very exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And so, the play that goes on isn't your first off-Broadway show. You were in If I Forget, Countless of Storyville, and Growing Up 70s. And so, what was it like coming back to an off-Broadway production and getting to do one that's like super well known in the theater industry?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's really nice to be in such an intimate venue, and it kind of serves this story particularly really well.
Yeah.
And I actually think some of the most exciting work that's happening in theater in New York is happening off Broadway. There are great shows on Broadway, but it feels like off Broadway is kind of really pushing the envelope and putting new things out there. And of course, joining a show like The Play That Goes Wrong, which has such a big history, there were big shoes to fill, but it was also pretty exciting, and I felt comfortable knowing that I was coming in with people who knew what they were doing and who would support me through the journey.
Yeah, for sure. And so, with the play that goes on, it's been on off Broadway and around the U.S. and in the UK for such a long time. And so, what was it like stepping into the role of Dennis, and how did you feel when it came to your first performance?
Yeah, so it's actually funny. A lot of people say that I look a lot like the guy who originated the role of Dennis,
Yeah.
so I'll kind of get mistaken for him at the stage door. Um, but it was exciting. And what I love about this show is that, obviously there's certain characteristics of each person, but you really get to play around with how that fits into the way you do it. And so I really was able to make sort of Dennis my own, as well as kind of like we always joke that we like to like steal jokes from other people, meaning that if I see something that someone else does that I really like, then I can sort of incorporate that into my own performance. So it was definitely intimidating knowing that I was coming into a role that had already been explored, but also exciting because I knew that I could individualize it for myself.
Yeah, for sure. And following along with the play that goes on, what was the audition process like for the show?
Yeah, so it was a big audition process, definitely. So at first we sent in self tapes, which are like auditions that you film at home. And then from there they looked at those and sort of narrowed down. And they had us come in for these big group auditions so that they could kind of get an idea of the dynamic and how we work in a group since the show is so ensemble based. So we did like sort of acting games, we ran some scenes. And then they had another round of those later on where they brought in another group of people to go through that. And those were even smaller groups. And then finally, we had our final round of callbacks, which is where I went in with just me, the casting director, the director, and the associate director. And then we ran through a few scenes and they kind of confirmed. I think at that point there were maybe only three or four other men up for the same role as me. So that was a very small group at that point.
That's awesome. And so, the play that goes on is a very physical, demanding show with everything making sure that it goes wrong, but also in the right way possible. And so, what are some of the precautions that you as an actor take to make sure you maintain a healthy performance each night?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very dangerous. You have to, especially when you're on stage, you just have to make sure that you're pretty focused on where you are and what you're doing so that you don't hurt yourself and don't get hit by anything that you're not supposed to be hit by. There's also an extensive warm up I like to do before the show, warming up my voice, warming up my body. And then in general, trying to stay active outside of the show too. My character does a lot of sort of like heavy lifting. I lift a lot of people a bunch of different times. So just making sure I'm keeping my body in shape outside of work, as well as warming up before the show, and then doing some cool downs after the show to make sure that very important, rest and hydration.
Yeah, for sure. Along with being off Broadway, you've also been in a few Broadway shows like The Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, Billy Elliot, and The Fairyman, where for Fairyman and Little Mermaid, you were in the original Broadway cast. And so, what was it like being in such well-known musicals like Beauty and the Beast and like Little Mermaid, and stepping into these well-known roles?
Yeah, when I was a kid, those were some of my first professional acting jobs. So for me, I almost didn't process it because I was so young at the time. I think I was only 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't sort of understand the gravity of the whole situation and how big of a deal it was. I loved doing it, but for me, it was just more of a fun sort of pastime. So I didn't really necessarily overthink all the people that had originated the roles and done it before me, but rather I was just having fun doing what I loved. But it was definitely exciting and it was a cool, unique sort of childhood to have growing up, on stage and on Broadway.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so, as a performer, who are some of your biggest inspirations?
Oh, that's a great question. I really love an actor named Jesse Eisenberg. He he's definitely one of my heroes. He is a writer as well as an actor. And I admire the sorts of characters he plays and his sort of in his intellect. So he's someone I really look up to a lot. Look up to Rob McClure a lot, who actually helped me out in high school when I worked on a production of Chaplin, and he originated that role on Broadway. Uh, so he's a big hero of mine as well. Um, I mean, honestly, a lot of the people I work with, Robert and Evan, who plays or played Chris Lansley, who's currently playing Chris Bean.
Yeah,
A lot of the
I
people I
had
currently work
Chris
with,
and Evan on my podcast. They're great.
right? They're the best, yeah.
Yeah.
And I find every day when I'm on stage with them, I they really teach me so much about comedy and about being an actor. So having them around is means that I have some of the greatest teachers.
Yeah, for sure. And so, one more thing about the play that goes on. Is there a specific moment or scene that you look forward to performing each night?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I love doing the loops, which is the end of Act One. We just keep running over the same scene over and over and over again. That's definitely my favorite part of the show. It's so fun. I love doing it with my castmates. And just getting to say the same lines, but really sort of like find the nuance in the difference between each time we say it. And then, spoiler, I also get hit in the face with some paint thinner, so that's also pretty fun.
Yeah, and the good thing about the show is there's so much like each show is not the same because the audience makes it different each night, which is like awesome in itself. So, uh,
Yeah, exactly. we really get a lot of every show's different, and that keeps it exciting for us because I've done the show over 1,300 times,
Wow.
and so for me it's a lot, but because I go in every night and I don't know what's actually going to happen, it keeps it fun and exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And Dennis is one of those characters that's like super fun to play, and you can just like pull different things each night. So,
Exactly.
when you were younger, was there a certain moment in your life that you made you realize that you wanted to be an actor?
Yeah, so my parents always tell this story, and I think it's very funny. So my first show that I ever saw on Broadway was Beauty and the Beast, and I was only 3 years old. And my parents said that I was enraptured the whole time. I was just like so focused on it. And they said we were walking out of the theater, and I was in my stroller, and I looked up at them, and then I said, I want to be on Broadway. I want to do that. And they said, yeah, okay, sure. And they kind of like, ignored me. They thought it was just a childish fancy, but in the end I was so determined that I made sure that I was going to pursue it. And so that was kind of the moment for me that it clicked for me and I decided I wanted to be an actor. So it's really been my whole life.
That's awesome. And so, and the crazy thing about that is like with Beauty and the Beast, and then you got to be in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, which is probably a great experience as well.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and so when you, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Ooh, that's a good question. If I could give any advice to my younger self, I would probably say to not worry so much about everything and to understand that the things that are meant to come will come, to work hard always, and to be confident in what I know I can do, uh, and just not self-guess, not or self-doubt, don't not worry so much, but to kind of just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, for sure. And so, this next question kind of ties into the last one, but what advice would you give to younger performers who want to pursue acting professionally?
Oh, that's also a good question. I would say to keep trying and to not let the rejection get you down. Because in this industry, in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of no's. A lot of people say no. But if you keep pushing and trying and understanding that the right thing will come along for you, then it'll happen. So just keep believing in yourself and keep pushing. Because they say the only failed actor is one that quits. So if you just keep trucking along, you know, then one day you're gonna achieve your dreams.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And so that actually wraps up the interview today. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.